pose and child's pose in a variety of different positions to help really free up your back. Now, a few things before we start. If coming onto your knees, where your backside is on your heels, is not possible for you, maybe you've got something going on at your knees, maybe your hamstrings are really tight, then what you can do is you can use either a rolled up blanket or a pillow and pop that in at the back of the knees so that you've got support in at the back of the calves, or between the calves and the thighs, just to make it feel a little bit easier. If that is not possible, if that still doesn't feel comfortable, another option is, pull my chair in, on a chair or at the edge of the sofa. You could be here and then work from this position. You could do this standing up at the kitchen counter, or even with the chair, standing up and be in this position here, coming in and out of child's pose. So just some different options there if being down on the floor is not comfortable for you for any reason. If you are comfortable on the floor, we're going to start with our knees together, backside sitting on the heels and in an upright position. So this is just getting us comfy in this position. We're getting the front of the shins to have a stretch here. And you might be wondering, what's that got to do with your back and your shoulders? Everything in your body is connected, and if you're tight down in the shins, that can pull the top half of your body down. So it's giving that a wee stretch off. Then we're going to take our knees wider. Now you can be here at these different positions for as long as you need. I'm just going to go through them fairly quickly, so I'm not holding you and your attention for too long. But if you think, oh, this is really nice, I need to stay here longer, then stay here longer. What I want you to also check in with is your breath. Are you holding your breath? If you are, exhale, let the breath out. And try and keep a smooth and steady breath throughout the movements and throughout the practice. Now, when you start to get into places where you're feeling tight, that's where tuning into your breath is really useful. Because as you start to move, if the breathing starts to get difficult here, then you're not relaxing into this space and your body's never going to settle. You're not going to be able to tap into that parasympathetic nervous system, which is a side of your nervous system that your body feels safe and it just releases and lets go. So when you start to feel that, if you come here and you're like, oh, that's an effort, then edge back, take a few breaths, and then as you're exhaling, start to come forward. And you just stay here until that little bit of resistance goes, and you're looking for the start point of the resistance, not where, all right, that's me starting to really feel the stretch now. It's like, where is my body first going? Hang on, is this okay? And that can take practice. Sometimes we need to go to an end point and then edge back and then go, right, where did this start? Closing your eyes can sometimes help because we take away the visual distractions. So we're just starting to edge forward here. So if you're doing this standing, then maybe you start close to the surface and start to shuffle back, just very slowly, looking for where your body's looking for the path of least resistance. And with each exhaling breath, if things start to feel like they're softening, then we just edge a little bit deeper in. Almost thinking like the body's melting. We've got our muscles and our bones, and then in between all those muscles and bones, there's the organs and blood vessels and lymph vessels. Holding all of that together is your connective tissue. Connective tissue is like a spider's web or wonder web, if you've ever used that to put your hem up. Holding everything together. And that's what we're trying to work with here. That's what we're trying to help relax. If you're dehydrated, this is going to be more challenging because the fluids in your body will be less, which means everything's more sticky and more tacky. So making sure that you're well hydrated when you're doing any kind of stretching, any kind of releasing. And it might be that you get to the point where you come down onto your forearms. Now, if you get down onto your forearms, but your butt's lifted away from your heels, if you're down on the floor, then you just need to edge back and come back up for a couple of breaths, possibly. And maybe as you start to melt, you can come down a bit lower. And this can be a really slow, really gradual process, just depending on how tight things are in your body. When you're breathing in, can you take a deep breath in? So you're breathing into the back of the body. So with that inhale, can you feel the spaces between the spine get a wee bit of a stretch out? We check that the shoulders are not up round the ears, so can we create length in the neck? Inhaling, and then as you're exhaling, feeling that softening. Now we're going to just stay in this position for another couple of breaths. As I said, you can spend as long here as you wish. If you feel like, oh, this is just exactly where I need to be, just going to change things up for a few moments. It doesn't matter how far away or how close you are to the floor here. Just going to bring the hands back, gently roll yourself up, and then start to walk the hands forward, coming up onto your knees. Now keep your knees wide and your feet towards each other. You're just walking the hands forward. Think about sending the crown of the head forward, so you're really long there. And then we're going to send the tailbone back, keeping the hands where they are, looking for that exhaling breath. And just notice where you're feeling tight, where you're feeling a stretch. If your backside's not getting back to your heels, just edge the hands back until the backside meets the heels. And then that's where your hands are going to stay for the next time. So you're going to inhale up. And then let's exhale back. So if your backside landed, can you slide the hands a tiny bit further forwards? And can we inhale up? And exhale back. Looking for that length in the spine, length through the armpits. We're inhaling up. And exhaling back. And again, we can spend as long as we need. If we're really sticky here, just take your time. You maybe rest back at this point, stay here for a few breaths, trying to let go, or maybe you continue coming up and down. Now we're going to go into a slightly different position to take it into a little bit of a side bend. So you're going to bring one hand over to land on top of the other, and then sit those hips back. And again, notice if the hips don't go back, you slide the hands back. And then we come up. And then we come back. So we're exploring to see where are we holding tension in our body. Where do we move with ease? Where do we move with a little bit of resistance? So sometimes as you're coming back here, we're getting a stretch here from right down into the tailbone, all the way up through the spine, up the side of the body, up the arm, all the way to the fingertips. So depending on where you're holding tension, you might feel this in the triceps and armpit. You might feel it down in at the tailbone. You might feel it in the waist and ribs. You might feel it in all of those places. We're always just exploring. So when we come up this time, we're going to take the hands to the other side. And then let's just explore on this side. Do we have more movement here? Do we have less movement? And it's not uncommon for you to be tighter on one side than the other. Maybe you're a little bit shorter on the one side than you are the other. And that can be how you position yourself throughout the day. So if you're right-handed, you might find that you're shorter on the right side because you lean into that side as you do things. Or it might be the other way around. You might balance on the left a lot while you use your right, or vice versa. It's good to start to notice, what are you doing day to day? How do you hold your posture? Where do you comfortably spiral to? Now when we come up this time, we're going to take our hands to the middle and let our thumbs and index fingers touch. So nice and narrow with the hands, and going back here. So we're inhaling as we come up and exhaling as we go back. So why do we change our hand positions? If you practice yoga or practice any kind of movement, you will probably have habits on how you move your body. So we're just looking for different pathways to move. We're looking for where your habits might be and how we can break those habits. Let's take our hands wide, even wider than your mat if you're on a mat. And notice how that feels. If it's tight, you edge the hands back. Think about what you've been doing over the last few days. Have you been at your computer lots? Have you been standing lots, sitting lots? Now, when we come back up this time, we're going to bring our hands in, roughly shoulder width, not exactly. And then we're going to slide one hand under and then take the hips back. A little bit of a twist and a little bit of a pull back. Inhale that back up. And then slide the hand through and under. Set the hips back. And just notice, how does that feel? Moving into the back of the shoulder. Let's do the other sides. Slide the hand under, set the hips back. Bring it back up on an inhale. Take it through on an exhale. And pull it back up. Now, if there was one position that we've done so far that you think, I need a little bit more of that, then go back to that one. Just for a couple of rounds, then we're going to do one more thing. And then we're going to come back up to kneeling tabletop. Let the knees slide underneath the hips. And then bring your forearms down to the floor. We want to keep the hips over the knees. And then you're letting your tailbone tilt up towards the ceiling so that the lower back is dropping down. The spine is dropping out the back of the pelvis. Chest is coming towards the floor. And with that exhaling breath, can you edge your hands slightly further forward? Now your chest might come to the floor, your forehead might come to the floor, your chin might comfortably come to the floor. We're not looking for any particular place as being the end point. Let's just turn my alarm off. We're looking for whatever your end point is that feels comfortable for you. Notice when you come down, if your shins and feet start to lift off the floor, that is showing that there's tightness and tension somewhere. So just back off, bring the shins back down to the floor and edge down. Can you take steady breaths here? Really nice for getting a stretch through the armpits, hitting the shoulders, maybe in a way that you don't usually. We're going to edge our way back, walking the knees in, bringing the legs together, and then just gently sliding the hands back, coming back up into a kneeling seated position. And just notice how you feel after having done that. There might be parts of your body that feel more alive. You might have more awareness of certain parts. You might be sitting taller, or it might be easier to sit tall. Have a play around with all those different positions. Find the ones where you're meeting resistance, where you feel tight, and see what you can do to help untangle that. We're never trying to force anything in. It's always, can we take a nice full inhale, relaxing exhale. If we can't get that breath in, then we need to back off slightly. Take the inhale and then see if the exhale lets us move into that position. If you have got any questions about any of this at all, or you would like to explore with me some movement in your own body to help release tension, please do get in touch. I am jenwilson.com. You can pop a comment in. You can send me a message. What works best for you? I would love to be able to help you. So I will see you next time. Have a wonderful day.